Welcome to the Not Even Wine with Dinner podcast. I'm your host, Kristen, and we are here to talk about all things life, love, loss, and liquor. So let's uncork the bottle and get this party started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Not Even Wine with Dinner. Today's episode number 18, is called You Can't Pour from an Empty Glass. So we are going to talk about self-care. And the reason that we're going to talk about self-care, let me interrupt this for a second. I know in my last podcast, I talked about how I was going to switch more or less to storytelling instead of being like, oh, I'm going to tell you some big lesson. I suppose this is a lesson, but this is based on a story. This is based on my experience. So I want to share this with you because it was really important to me. And I also think that it does apply when it comes to sobriety, but it just applies to life, about how we take care of ourselves and how we should listen to our bodies. So let me just start with the story and tell you what happened. And the reason I'm bringing this up, if you noticed, if you followed me for any length of time, maybe you do, maybe you didn't notice, but I skipped out a week in recording and I'm a week late in the bi-weekly schedule of this podcast. Now, maybe you didn't notice it was bi-weekly, but it is. And that's my intention, is to always have one every other week. Okay, so what happened was a couple weeks ago, I guess it was last week really, I had a couple good days and a couple of shit days. And when I returned from the shit days, it was a day or so before I was needing to record this next episode. And I just wasn't feeling it. And it wasn't so much like, life is hard, I don't want to do this. What happened was, it was like the good days and the bad days were literally like riding an extreme roller coaster. So for anybody who's in Texas and knows Six Flags, then you know that they just opened Tormenta, which is supposed to be, it's got some record of the highest or the fastest plunge on a roller coaster. That's kind of how it was. It was like I was on this high for a couple days and then I went to a really big low. Why? Doesn't matter. But what happened was then I ended up having headaches for literally 4 days in a row and I couldn't shake them. And I was having to take a migraine pill, a prescription every day, which I hate. And I have a history of migraines. I've had them since I was 19. So I've had them. I'm, well versed in how to deal with them. But when they come in succession like that, when I have headache after headache after headache, it's usually a sign that it's stress related. My triggers are not like food or chocolate or anything like that. A lot of it has to do with stress and heredity, but it's stress when they are just back to back to back to back. And so when I got back from this high and low, I just realized, my head was not in it at all. It didn't mean that I don't love the podcast and I don't like doing it. It just means I physically and mentally was not there. And had I tried to do it, it would have come out like shit. So I thought, you know what? Fuck this. I'm in charge. This is my business. This is my thing. I'm going to take control and I'm going to put this kind of up on a self-care pedestal. I'm not going to do this. I'll put it off for a week. It's not the end of the world. I'm not Mel Robbins up there with millions and millions of followers, but I've got to do this for myself. And after I kind of went through and pushed through that, it just got me back to thinking about what I was going to record because I had not planned the episode for the week. So what I want to talk about is how you can't pour from an empty glass. And what I mean by that is, our body gives us signals. Our body tells us what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. And we have to make that discernment of whether or not we want to listen. Here's another basic example. When you eat and you get full, the body tells you you're full. The body starts to fill up and tells you that you are full. And by the time the body gives you that signal, you're actually already a little bit past full, meaning the body's already reached where it needs to be from a nutrition standpoint, but now you're kind of pushing it a little bit further forward. And so now it's telling you, you don't really need any more food. You're full. But then you have to make that decision as to whether or not you keep eating. And this is part of the problem. We don't listen to ourselves when the body gives us these signals. So that's why I wanted to cover this today. I just think it's super important, and especially with, mental health. Let me jump into mental health side. So we all have, okay, life is hard, right? We know life can be hard, life can be difficult. I am not saying this like I'm looking for a pity party, or that I think that you need to live in a state of having a pity party. What I'm talking about is life can be very difficult, and obviously that's different for everybody. So take this into your own, look at it through your own lens, not necessarily through mine. But life can be hard. And we're not effective if we're not in a good state of mind or in a good state of physicality. We can't be effective if we're sick. We can't be effective if we're really depressed. We cannot be effective if we're anxious, and we can't be effective if we're injured. So that does not mean that you stop life every time you take a Tylenol. That just means that you need to look at the state that you're in order to be able to be present for others, or present for your job, or present for your family. So this is about listening to those signs in your body. One thing that I have learned over the years, through self-care and through the self-care industry, I'm going to probably repeat this for some of you, maybe not, but I've been a yoga instructor for, like 18 years. And one thing that I have witnessed in the wellness industry, there has been this great shift, and maybe social media has a lot to do with it, because when I started teaching in 2008, social media was at its bare bones. I mean, I think I joined Facebook in 2007. There was no TikTok, Instagram, none of that. And it was more for people to just find other friends versus us all being influencers and trying to be out there giving a message or whatever. And at the time, like, people's the whole point of being well, or being, in a state of self-care, was because you wanted to take care of your body to be the best version of yourself. And over the years, it's like it's shifted to this me first message. Like, you've got to put yourself first. You've got to put yourself before others. You can't do this. You can't do that. And to an extent, that's what I'm saying when I say you can't pour from an empty glass. But that doesn't mean that you push everybody else to the side and you push everything out to the side. Or, like I said a minute ago, you drop everything because you need to take an ibuprofen or a Tylenol or whatever. It's just, I, as a Christian, and this isn't a religion thing, but my belief is that we put others first, we serve others, we try to help people who are in greater need. But we can't do that if we're not at 100%, or at least at 85%. So that is what I mean by you can't pour from an empty glass. You can't give what you don't have. So it's really important to kind of make that balance and make that discernment between what is giving of yourself, like so much that you're draining yourself. There's a book called When the Body Says No, and it's by, the author is Gabor Mate. And it's a fascinating read. It gets very clinical, so if that's not your thing, I'm going to give you a Cliff Notes version, but basically it's all about the mind-body connection. And he talks a lot about, like, big diseases. And he talks about cancers and, multiple sclerosis, a lot of things that have to do with inflammation in the body. And it's all about the stress and the mind-body connection. And they've done extensive research on a lot of these people who end up in these really distraught states of dis-ease. And if you look at that word, it's not something that we think about. We grow up hearing the word like, oh, so-and-so has a disease, but it wasn't until I went through teacher training that I heard it broken down like that. And the word is actually dis-ease. If you break it apart, the body is in a state of non-ease. The body is not at ease. When we get stressed out and that body tenses up, you're putting the body in a state of non-ease. And it's crazy because I think it was even yesterday or the day before, I was somewhere and I was listening to somebody and I caught myself, I caught my body, and I don't even remember, it was something like not really that important. It wasn't like I was stressed about what they were talking about, but for some reason, I literally could feel my pelvis and my stomach and my hands. Like I could feel my body clenched. And when I caught it, it was like I just let go. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is why we get sick. We crunch our body up and we don't let it go. And, it creates all these problems inside the body, and it's just not good for you. So it's a good read if you have a chance to take a look at the body. Again, when the body says no, it's very fascinating. And again, this just brought me back to this whole thing. And I know I've mentioned it now like 5 times. You can't pour from an empty glass. You can't be present for somebody if you're not in a good state of mind or body. And what I really want you to try to get out of this episode is to take a step back and assess yourself. And that's what I had to do. And now maybe my situation is unique because I'm an entrepreneur. I have control over my schedule. We do have things here because obviously, we do mission work here and we have things that are on a very strict schedule. But I do have a lot of flexibility in other things that I do, especially when it comes to doing anything with Not Even Wine with Dinner. That's me, that's my baby, that's on my schedule, and I am working that into my mission schedule. So it is a bit stressful, but we have to be able to listen. When I've been teaching yoga, when I have been teaching as a personal trainer and doing the wellness, the physical, the mind-body teaching, is I use the phrase, listen to your body, it's your best teacher. Our body, we have one. We were given this body as a gift. And you really should look at your body as a gift, whether you feel like it's good, bad, or ugly right now. It is a gift. And it was given to us and then put in our hands to take care of. And, sometimes we abuse it. And so going, into the whole thing about substance abuse, sobriety, for different reasons. I'm not saying like, it's all your own fault. There's, external issues, there's trauma, there's reasons that we get started in these things. However, we have the discernment. We have the choice what to do with our bodies. We can eat well, we can eat shitty, we can exercise, we can be sedentary, we can do drugs, we can get drunk, or we can be sober. We can do either side of that, either side of the coin. That's up to us. That is up to us to do. And so we get this one body. And for anybody who's followed me, then you might have seen or heard or attended my workshop on preventative versus prescriptive movement. It's like the same with food, with exercise, with abuse, with whatever. It's like you can take care of yourself, or you can do preventative medicine, you can do preventative exercise, you can do things to take, care of the body, or you can head in the prescriptive side of that, which means that you have to go to somebody and say, help me, fix me, take care of me, because I messed it up, or I didn't do the best that I could have, or I'm struggling. Now, I'm not referring to people who have some sort of chronic illness that maybe that they inherited, or they've had an injury. I mean, there's obviously exceptions to all these rules. However, there are plenty of things that we do to ourselves, and we don't take care of ourselves, and we don't listen. So going back to listen to your body, it's your best teacher. It's going to tell you. And when I use that example in a yoga class or in an exercise class, if something hurts, don't do it. That doesn't mean that, if you're trying to lift weights, you shouldn't, try to increase the weight. If it's a little bit more of a struggle or a challenge, that's one thing. But if it hurts and there is pain involved, then you shouldn't be doing it, or you're not ready for that next step. It goes back with food. If you want to have a soda every once a week or once a month or a couple times a year, like that's what I do. And sometimes here, because we have soda with real sugar, I like it. And I go through phases where I might have one a day because they come in these little 3-ounce bottles. But then I have to step back and go, you know what? I know this isn't good for me, so I'm going to take it away and I'm going to just like minimize it. Or you could be the person that is addicted to Diet Coke made with high fructose corn syrup if you're in the States. And you might know that it's not good for you, but you keep doing it. And then you might end up having a pre-diabetes issue down the road or whatever, again, but my whole point is listen. And so this whole not being able to pour from an empty glass thing, going back to listening to the body, this is what I did. This is why I pushed off recording the podcast for a week, because I was not in a good state physically. I was very nauseous. I had tons of migraines. I did not feel good at all. My head was not in it. And I had to say, you know what, am I going to be effective if I try to do this? Will I be the best version of myself when I try to present to my audience? Or am I going to put out a half-ass product that someone's going to be like, she's not really telling me anything that I need to know, or I'm not really interested in this episode, so I'm not going to listen to the rest of it. So this is why this is so important. And I am sure that I'm kind of being a bit rambly with this, but it's just important for you to take a step back. And that's what I want you to do after you listen to this episode. I want you to step back and kind of go, okay, is my glass full or is my glass empty? Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to run off Monday and take a mental health day. As somebody who worked in management and supervision for so long prior to this side of my life, I'm always been on the fence with like, I'm taking a mental health day. It sounds very hippie, and I'm not saying it's not a real thing. If you're a sobbing mess in a puddle on the floor because you're in chronic depression or clinical depression and you have got to like pull your shit together, take that day. But if you're just kind of like, oh my God, the alarm's gone off, I hate my job, my boss is an asshole, I don't feel like going today, maybe you need to just like buck up and pull up your big girl panties and go to work because you have responsibilities that you need to take care of. You have to find the discernment in your own life, but you have to also listen to your body. If your body is giving you signals, it's just like pushing through the pain. Are you pushing through pain that is going to abuse yourself in the long run, or are you pushing yourself through the pain to where when you go try to be present for your family or your job or your audience, that you're not going to be effective? You need to take a step back and do an internal inventory. How do I feel? How am I performing? Am I giving the best version of myself? Am I pushing myself to a peak where I am going to either break apart physically or break down mentally or emotionally? When you're at that peak, that's the time you need to step back and really, really listen. Listen to the warning signs. We carry stress in our bodies in so many different ways and so many different places. Okay, so a minute ago I mentioned my pelvis. I'm going to give you a little bit of TMI and take it for what it's worth. I have what is called interstitial cystitis. I was diagnosed with this years ago, and it wasn't even something I'd ever heard of. And what it is it's inflammation in the wall of the bladder. And there's food triggers, there's drink triggers, a lot of those things I don't do anymore. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't eat all the foods on the list. I did medication, I did injections. That was fun. I had weekly injections of this like medication that was injected into my bladder every week. That was just fucking awful. Okay, but what I determined through studying my own body and my own life is it's stress. And it's because I started noticing that sometimes when I'm stressed, I carry a lot of stress in my neck and my shoulders, but I also carry it in my pelvic area, like my bladder and just like that whole pelvic floor. I tense everything up and then it becomes inflamed. And it's something that I have learned about and I figured it out. But I mean, how messed up is that? So my bladder is connected to my emotion. The reason I'm telling you that is because the body manifests stress in so many different ways. So when you start to think about, okay, I'm getting sick all the time, what does that sickness look like for you? Is it a stomach sickness? Is it a tension sickness? Is it an ache? Is it a pain? What is causing it? It may not necessarily be an outside, external, environmental issue, which obviously those are real factors. If you're drinking shitty water, you're going to have shitty intestinal problems. I'm not talking about, that type of a physical illness, but making that mind-body connection and figuring out, is something going on in my body a result of my stress, and not listening to what the body's trying to tell me. That is really what my message is today, is to take a step back and assess what's going on physically, and then figure out how it's connecting. And if you're able to somehow step back from it and just be more aware, I feel like I'm talking a little bit in circles, but I've learned so much over the years. Maybe it's my age, maybe it's because I did embark on, a job in the wellness industry, and I've read a lot and learned a lot, and I've been certified to do a lot of different things. I just find it fascinating. I even look at my sister. My sister had ovarian cancer. My sister had, she had some fibroid issues in her breasts. She didn't have cancer, but she smoked a lot. And then obviously she drank a lot. And then in the end of her life, she got so stressed out, she became like a raging alcoholic, and it killed her. But I look back at some of the other illnesses she had through the course of her adult life, and I even brought this up to her. I talked about drinking when she was having issues with some of the lumps and the dense tissue in her breasts. And I said, alcohol does contribute, or there have been studies that say that alcohol can be a contributing factor to breast cancer. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not here giving you medical advice. However, when I brought it up, she got very defensive that had nothing to do with it. And I'm thinking to myself, but you're also high stress. Let me throw this one out here too. Almost everybody in my life that I've known, and we're going to say, like, I can think of about a half a dozen people off the top of my head that have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, were very high stress, high strung personalities. Every one of them that had like really intense issues with their gut was a high stress personality. They were, when I mean high stress, I mean they were very affected by everything. My mother was one of them. She was either plugged up or going to the bathroom. She was one or the other. And she was always like a high stress, like she has a very intense, stressed out personality. I believe a lot of that contributed to it. I really do. We are all connected. The shoulder girdle is connected to the spine, which is connected to the hip girdle, which is connected to the legs. I mean, we're one giant thing, the skeleton, and the ligaments, the joints, everything's connected. If you are accident prone, is it that you're getting hurt because people say, oh, I'm accident prone? Why are you accident prone? Do you have a balance issue? Do you have a stress issue? Do you have an ADHD issue? Are you on the spectrum and you're like, a very intense, like, I can't focus on one thing at a time personality, so you stumble over your own feet? Again, my sister was kind of like that. She was a stumbly bumbly one because she was always 10 steps ahead of where she needed to be, and that affected her as well. So take that assessment, and I wish I had more steps planned for you. I don't. I just want you to step back and realize that if you take that assessment and you listen, you might find that there's something going on that you can take control over so that you can be more present in your life. When you're able to be more present and slow down in your own life and look at what's going on and listen when the body says, I hurt, I'm tired, I'm full, I'm achy, I'm in pain. When you listen to those signs, you can react to them properly and then try to help yourself so that you can be the best version of yourself. And then when you're the best version of yourself, you're able to be more present for the people, the jobs, the events, and the beings in your own life. Then you can pour from a full glass. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up for the week. Sorry I was a week late, but honestly, it helped me so much. So I thank you for your patience. Gracias por su paciencia in Spanish. And I really appreciate it. I appreciate my audience. I appreciate all the feedback you guys give me. Oh, here's one announcement. On Friday, September 18th, I will be presenting at Medium Day 2026. If you go to medium.com and you search for Medium Day, or if you go to my Facebook page or my Instagram page, you will find the link and you can register. Medium Day is an all-day event. There's going to be, I believe there's like 106 different speakers. I am one of them. I will be presenting about the 5 stages of change. So even if sobriety is not your thing, if you have any kind of change that you're trying to do in your life, let's say it's a relationship, a job, a move, and you kind of are stumbling or fumbling around with change, it's just, all this is a 30-minute mini class. That's all it is. It's 30 minutes. It will be recorded, so they're going to be releasing it, I think, for a week or 2 afterwards. But there's all kinds of different presenters. There's a lot of writers, a lot of authors, doctors, scientists. I mean, it's just a plethora of different experts and just different lay people that are going to be talking about all different kinds of topics. And if, for those of you who are not familiar with Medium, Medium is a writing and a reading platform. It's a place where people write. That's where I do a lot of my writing. I do a lot of storytelling and articles on Medium mostly about the sobriety and my family, mental health, and things I talk about here. It is a free event. The platform, if you want to join Medium, is $5 a month. It's very low cost. And then you have full access to all of the stories and all the articles, and you can write. You can use it as your own platform if you want to start writing. It's a great community. It doesn't feel like social media to me. It's more of a very open and honest community of like-minded people. Like, you'll find your people if you go over there just to read and write about different topics. So anyway, that's my plug for the week, is that, yes, so mark your calendar. So, and I'm speaking from 12 to 12:30 CST, Central Standard Time. So Friday, September 18th, 12 to 12:30, 5 stages of change, your roadmap to sobriety. Hope you'll sign up. You have to sign up so that you can get access to it. And again, it's free. So hope you guys will go check it out. And that's all I got. So have a fantastic week, and I will try to stick on schedule for the next one. So I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. In the meantime, as always, stay safe, stay sober. See you guys soon. Just a quick note of the legal jargon. I am not a medical or psychiatric professional, nor am I a recovery or addiction specialist. This podcast is for information use only, and I am simply sharing my own experiences with sobriety, drinking, mental health, and wellness. I'm not here to diagnose or to treat. So if you're struggling and you feel like you are in immediate need, please contact a medical professional or call 911. Thank you guys again. Stay safe, stay sober.